This video is going to be addressing the numerous YouTube videos that I've seen on polygamy and how they present it from a unbalanced and limited perspective in order to get African women in America or African American women in order to engage in the culture or the traditions of their ancestors. Polygamy has been presented as a religious aspect and as a cultural aspect. And I'm not completely against polygamy. I believe that if you find a relationship that works with your soul, if you're balanced, then please, by all means. But I'm just talking about, don't do it because somebody say you got to do it because you African. You understand what I'm saying? I want to understand how people come with the idea that because you are of African descent, that you have to practice polygamy because that is the way that Africans do it. I want to understand how in a continent that is so vast, so huge, has many cultural and ethnic identities, how polygamy is the only thing that existed on the continent prior to colonialism. And that colonialism had the power to change our minds and allow us to only see monogamy. I am under the overstanding that on a continent as vast and great as Africa, there was polygamy, polygyny, polyandry, monogamy, maybe even homosexuality. I mean, the place that gave birth to the entire world, and we only practice polygamy, and that's the only thing that, and we give all the credit to these Westernized, these Europeans, because I see a lot of men talking about if you're a woman and you don't believe in polygamy, you're only jealous, you're selfish, you have a Westernized mind. But in the same token, they want you to engage in this polygamous relationship with them, and they want you to work. Do not have any land, do not have any money, do not have any means to support you and the many subsequent children that may come out of having 3 wives. In traditional Africa, when a man wants to marry any woman, whether it's his first wife or his second wife, I'm not saying this is all across the board, but in many villages, the man has to approach the father of the daughter and the mother's family of the daughter. He has to gain their approval. He will then be considered eligible if he's able to produce the wealth and show his wealth and pay it over to the family in order to be allowed to marry their daughter. So therefore, the man, before he even marries, is allowed to marry, has to show his wealth. Please tell me, in this Westernized society, which man is producing wealth prior to engaging in polygamy? See, they want to use culture and tradition of our ancestors, even though our cousins in Africa are still practicing polygamy and still continue these practices. Why they don't produce their wealth? Why they're not getting acceptance from parents? Why they're not doing things in a traditional route? An idea of nation building. Like the only way in order for a nation to be built is by having children. Yes, that's one way. But that's not the only way. And you having 5 wives and 15 children and you live in your own house is not building a nation. That's building your little own individual nation. But the idea of community and living with each other is not just what's going on in your little household. It's about how you interact with people. They always have an idea of communalism or community. So every child that is born is not yours specifically, it's a child of the village, blessing to the village, because that means that your culture and your identity is going to continue on with these children. Your relationship with everybody else in the village is pertinent. You can't be in your little closet and not interacting with the other women or the other men. Everything is done communally. So someone having children, living in a household and polygamy, that's not a way of nation building to me. It doesn't make sense to me. How about if we really are concerned about our children, let's go into these foster care systems and rescue the children that we already have locked up behind these prison-like walls. How about we rescue them by adopting them? Okay, we have all these children out here. How about we do something like that and get our children back into our villages and teach and raise them the correct way? Make some impact in that way. Having sex with 5 women does not equate nation building. being a community, forming bonds and long-lasting relationships. That's nation building. The idea that some women have of polygamy as the answer to a cheating man. First of all, you know you're monogamous, okay? In order to keep a man, you shouldn't automatically just go on over to polygamy, because you're still a monogamous person appeasing your polygamous man. He's gonna show preference. He's gonna do all these things. That's the way he is. If you're a monogamous person, find somebody who's monogamous. Don't create another situation in order for you to keep a man. Monogamy versus not being human, or it's not a human characteristic. I've seen many videos and many questions behind monogamy is not being something that human beings are a part of. Again, I want to ask you the question. In a place that is so vast, that gave birth to entire civilizations, Africa, how come monogamy is still practiced in the most remote of villages? You see, in one village, polygamy could be practiced, polyandry could be practiced, and monogamy can be practiced. You understand what I'm saying? So, monogamy is a human characteristic, and that's not anti-African. You know, that's not anti-human. It's very human. So if I want to be selfish or jealous one day, that's a human characteristic, and to put myself into a box where I'm going to deny my jealousy or I'm going to deny my selfishness, that's inhuman. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't it, even in polygamy, polyandry, somebody has to be monogamous? I mean, yeah. The man gets to be polygamous, but the wives have to be monogamous only to you. That means you're calling your wife inhuman, because she's only dealing with you. You are her monogamous mate. You are, on the other hand, are polygamous, or her polygamous husband. So somebody in that relationship has to be monogamous in order for it to work. However, here's where my little term of omnigamy comes in. Let's just say you are in a relationship, okay? 3 of you guys, man, woman, woman. And you meet a brother. I mean, the brother is on point. He's beautiful, he's smart, he has a good spirit. And you talk to your now husband, and you love your husband. You're like, oh God, I'm not going to break up with him. You talk to him like, how about bringing this brother on into the marriage? Here we have the start of an omnigamous relationship, because the wife also does not have to subscribe to monogamy. She gets to bring her man on in. And then he, or the other husbands, have a choice to bring another wife in. Of course, there will have to be rules, and people have to stop their numbers. It's going to be a one big old community, God forbid, of people having sex with each other and building nations and all that. But isn't that a true representation of no one practicing monogamy? Omnigamy is when everybody gets to have a say in who they want to bring into the marriage. And let's also explore the idea or the practice of polyandry, which is the women having more than one mate. I like that one. Polyandry is practiced in Africa. Let's take the Himba tribe, for example, and I saw an example online where a man says the men are off for weeks or months at a time, grazing their cattle, getting them food, and they're going to come back. There are no more nomadic people, while the women are at home amongst themselves. So there may be another nomadic tribe passing through. The men who go away, the husbands expect their wives to, they said, okay, you can go have sex, because they want, the ultimate goal is to have children. And even if it's not your biological seed, the fact that when he comes back and he sees that, okay, you're pregnant, give thanks. He's not looking for no DNA test. Give thanks. And most women today even practice polyandry unconsciously. Okay, women in this society, in the Westernized society, are looked down upon because they have more than one man. They have 5 children from 5 different men. But unconsciously, they are actually diversifying the seed.